Hi, everyone. Welcome to March's webinar. Today, I have with me Nino. Nino is an Atlas Co-Fellow from Tunisia. He's previously also done a webinar and has generously agreed to do another one for this month. Excuse me. I'm really sorry. I'm not supposed to talk a lot because of a really bad chest infection. So I'm straight going to ask Nino to please introduce yourself and your talk. I'm really sorry. Nino, please go ahead.
Sure. I hope you recover fast and well. So hi, everyone. My name is Nino. I'm a Atlas Core Fellow from Tunisia, class 26. Today we're going to talk about the humanitarian crisis response innovations, and especially technological innovations, and how they fail and why they fail. And also what are rooms for improvements. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience so far. So here I came to the US for the fellowship since September. I'm placed at Pixera Global, and they do basically corporate volunteerism programs. Like they help companies like IBM send their employees for a month of volunteerism abroad to help social enterprises with business development or IT support. So I started being in the civil society, or being as an activist, as they call me sometimes, in since 2011, which is the revolution year of Tunisia, and that marked the Arab Springs. And since then, I've been involved in the international development sector, as well as basically the NGO civil society sector, as well as the business sector. Since I was a business graduate from the International University of Tunis. Um, so witnessing being in that revolution time, and also just a few months, like a month after Tunisian revolution sparked, Libya was blown up, and everybody had like guns and everything. It's been like that until now. Basically a civil war, and that meant also there's a lot of refugees from sub-Saharan Africa and Libyans themselves, who basically emigrated, like, or run to the Tunisian border. And there was a huge hit basically in the history. Like the second big one is the Syrian refugee crisis. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the crises, and what that means for people and for our sector, and our role in it as social change leaders. Um, so first of all, what humanitarian technologies are there, and what are their risks and challenges for you to consider, and mainly because I know you guys, fellows and friends, will one day be like program managers or country directors, or like very high positions. And please, I want you to keep that critical activist mindset. We all have been working on the ground. We all know how messy it is, but also what is more messy than that is like the office jobs that people have, either in DC or in other decision or power concentration areas. Um, so in any crisis, the first thing is basically logistics. And by humanitarian crisis, we can mean two things. It's either environmental related crisis, like tsunamis and hurricanes, and like extreme weather conditions, or and the crisis happens like either on an extended period of time, like global warming, or on a very fraction of time that like hits, and then people have to be resilient and deal with it. And another type of crisis is war, a civil war or an uprising, or something that is not well organized, or was gonna be organized, like Syria, and turned out bad. Um, so in any disaster situation, um, an earthquake or a civil war or extremist groups, there's the need. The first need is about logistics because people are dying because there's no access to food, water, and shelter. And medical supplies, of course. So how can we? So the first thing that we ask ourselves: how can we get these goods into the hands of these people who are damaged? Um, and the major challenge, like for example, we had this USAID disaster response training, and thank you, Sarah, for organizing that last year. So these experts with USAID, they say that the best thing is basically to send cash or to like, because if you send water, it's gonna cost a lot of money and a lot of troubles and a lot of risk to basically get into that place. And also, cash is the better alternative, but it also has its risks because also cash can like be diverted or stolen. Um, and here the new innovations that need to be done. So in the US, for example, hurricanes and many companies use drones, like for example Amazon and other like small organizations on the ground. They use drones to deliver medical supplies or something. This is really good. However, will this work in other places of the world? How efficient is this? Also, what is not reported upon is basically some drones were stolen and sold as parts because people needed money to like just buy stuff. Um, and here, and the other risk for drones, like there's a lot of course, pros and cons of everything. But here's another thing that if we can deploy drones to deliver medical supplies that are as heavy as, let's say, weapons or bombs, wouldn't we be also occurring the risk of these drones being kidnapped or hijacked by terrorist groups and then replacing the medical supplies with harmful materials, being chemicals or or bombs or anything. So drones are good, but at a certain extent. Also, we should consider when using drones or thinking about it that they are as a unmanned vehicles. I'm talking about the small ones, not the big war machines. They're illegal also to fly in certain areas. Like, for example, in DC or Tunisia, where I'm from, many countries just ban the usage of drones because it touches on national security. Um, so this is for logistics. How can we get things to the spot? I think the best thing is basically to coordinate better with the existing alternatives, with the existing options. First of all, like coordinating the logistics companies together to like pull in resources to deliver goods to people. That's what happened in Tunisia. Because we didn't have drones, we didn't have anything. We just wanted to help people, and uh, logistic companies like either by train, bus, like train or trucks or cars, and also motorcycles, kind of work together in a coordinated system, very spontaneous, to deliver goods from to the affected areas. Um, the second big thing is basically connectivity. People are like, we cannot live without our smartphones or without our phones. So, and it's a great way because in disaster response, we need to get connected to our families, to people we know, and also to the government or to the agencies that kind of help us in surviving or in passing through this hard time. Um, However, it's a very noble and needed connectivity, like to be connected to internet and to phone and telecommunication. Uh, like Amazon, for example, created this um, Amazon Snowball Edge, which is basically like a box that has like 100 terabytes of storage that you can like just implement in any remote area to run your organization's operation. But the challenge is with this connectivity, and it goes up to satellite phones and local networks, whatever, like those connectivity networks for phones for people to communicate. The challenge is who controls data and who controls communication. Because we all know that in times of crisis or war, who controls information controls the results of that war. So also we need to be very careful with this thing. Um, Another thing about data and internet, since everybody has a mobile phone and smartphone, basically, we can have more, how to say, um, more view or a broader view on how people, what are the travel habits from history, using the call data records. Uh, and specifically to basically see how the proximity to tower to like cell phone towers, radio towers, or like government buildings, like for food or anything. That's a great way because you can also know how people move around these hotspots. So we can like basically drop medical supplies or food to these hotspots, and then people will just like be more convenient for them to get those. However, this data is very sensitive, and also if in terms of war, and also in civilians are always the victims because the parties who are fighting do not want to lose bullets or spend more money on machines and guns and weapons. So that's why they use civilians as a human armor. Um, so who is a good or bad actor? So if you know, if you're like basically a country who want to eradicate a terrorist group that is basically protecting civilians, protected by civilians as human armor, basically, or hostages, but you know the travel habits of these people, so that's a great military technique or method to know exactly what's going to happen and where to target. However, I think the toll of victims will like just increase, uh, and by that we put already vulnerable people at a greater risk. Um, the third thing is um, digital ID, or basically ID in general. So we've seen in disasters like people, they lose their IDs and we don't know if they're speaking the truth or not, if they are who they say they are. Like for example, in Germany, there was North African illegal immigrants pretended to be Syrian refugees, um, because they just like saw that nobody had an ID, and the German government just is giving IDs or certifications for like I, identification certificate, like papers, and they saw that as an opportunity. Eventually, some of them got caught up. Uh, and also, what services should these people with or without IDs be entitled to or be denied to have? Other questions about ID also can be difficult to answer because some governments, just like in terms of crisis, they differentiate, unfortunately, between people from like the different castes or backgrounds or ethnicities, and an ID would be a bad thing to have rather than a privilege. Digital identities will be great, but also it could be a solution for the challenges that people like who do not want to like share all of their information, but also keep kind of ownership. But here, another critical question is, what about the people who are in affected areas like hurricanes, for example, in the US, but they don't have an ID because they're illegal immigrants and they're just here to work, and having an ID will get them deported. Um, and they desire to stay like in the informal economy because, and also sometimes employment is restricted to some people. Um, uh, yeah, so these are mainly the few points of innovations in the methods or techniques that are considered as innovations in the humanitarian sector or the international development sector for crisis response. But the solutions are, I'm going to put a blog post about this, but the solutions are basically all double-edged. The only solution that people are talking about too much these days is the blockchain technology because it's like privacy, and nobody like basically can control it technically. However, what about how is it reliable, and is it a great thing to have and to like basically make everybody equal before the law and before the aid that is coming in, or will it also be used to kind of filter and kind of sort the people like human uh, victims from like different ethnicities or uh, different like family origins or anything. um, so yeah, I think I'll be available for to go like for emails and if you have any questions. The other, yeah. Hi,
I
Sarah.
think we're short on time as well, so I'm gonna have to make you stop. But thank you so much. I'm so sorry, like I'm not being able to talk at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
no
thank
problem.
you once again for doing the webinar, and I hope you guys like it. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.